22 minutes after 7, and this is the story that is making headlines. Tax records can be accessed in the public interest. That's the landmark ruling by the Constitutional Court. The application was brought by the Financial Mail and Amabhungane investigative journalists who initially wanted to probe Jacob Zuma's tax records. They were denied by SARS, who said the former president was protected by the privacy laws. Now, the ruling means that these records or reports can now go back to the taxman for the documents. And for more analysis, we're joined by political analyst, Professor Sipho Seepe. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time. Now, what does this mean in earnest? Because we know that Parliament would have to take at least 24 months to amend the law that will give access to public or information, rather. Your reaction to this development?
Well, it must be understood that democracy is an experiment, and from time to time we are going to see more laws being refined in line with what the Constitution expects, because we're talking about open democracy, we're talking about transparency. And what the Concord decided to do is to suggest that the two laws that we have, which prevented or which were seen to protect people's privacy as far as their tax record is concerned, has been found to be wanting. That is the Promotion of Access to Information Act as well as the Tax Administration Act. They prevented anybody from accessing people's or a third party from accessing the records of another party, tax records. But what the Concord says, that the right to privacy cannot be or should not be supersede the public interest. So effectively what it says, that the public interest has to be determined first, that it will be in the public interest for people's tax record to be made public. And in this case, the Amabhungane as well as Financial Mail wanted to get access to President Zuma's records. But the SARS argued against that, and citing the Tax Administration Act and PAIA. But now the Concord has actually ruled to say those laws must be changed to be consistent with the idea of open democracy and transparency. But what it means politically, it means this goes beyond Jacob Zuma. It means that if you're a public figure and it can be determined that it will be in a public interest that your records should be made public, then nothing prevents SARS from making that disclosure. It will not be against the law, because that will be consistent with the open democracy and transparency that that we have signed for in terms of adopting our constitution.
And Prof, the ruling made by the Apex Court, the Constitutional Court, that in limited circumstances and in the interest of public knowledge or information, that the erstwhile President Jacob Zuma's case qualifies for this particular ruling. Your view?
Yeah, well, the former president had not opposed this first when it was brought before the High Court in Gauteng. He had actually felt and also had agreed with the Prime Protector when the Prime Protector wanted to access his tax information. He was not opposed. It was the SARS that was opposing that. But what this means is that it will not only be about Jacob Zuma, any other public official. For instance, people who may be interested in Phala, whether the current president is tax compliant, may approach the court and make a case that it will be in the public interest to know whether the president is tax compliant. And that applies to any other politician. So, but we should not expect that there will be floodgates, because people who are going to approach the court must make a case that such disclosure will serve our democracy and would be in a public interest.
And you're saying that the unintended consequences is that this could open a Pandora's box, and not only for parliamentarians or those in the public service, but any high profile or person that is exposed to, high influence or high influential people could have their taxes exposed, which means that your funders, political funders, or your business interests would also come to the surface.
Yeah, for instance, if you have, for instance, our Constitution forbids a president from earning any other income. And if it can be determined that he has been earning other income outside the job that he has signed for as a president of the country, the taxman would be able to indicate whether the president had actually paid for this other income, that has paid taxes for this other income that is not supposed to be getting. And what it would mean then is that people may use the Constitution to say, well, the president is in violation of the Constitution. And these are some of the issues that the Pala matter raises. The president of this country had indicated that he's also a businessman, or is having a side hustle where he is a farmer. And the Constitution requires that the president must pay full attention to the work that is assigned as a president and not to be engaged in his side hustle. But if he is, the taxman may be able to indicate that he has actually paid, his tax compliant, but there will also be this other issue, whether, even if he's tax compliant, whether he has not broken the oath of office.
But what about the right to privacy? Earlier on, you were saying that the Constitution provides for right of privacy. In the case of former President Jacob Zuma, is there any other recourse, room to maneuver in terms of the ruling of the Constitutional Court?
Well, that is an issue that the court dealt with, that what you see in the Constitution, you have a number of rights. There's a right of privacy, there's a right for one to have access to information held by the state. There's also the right for a person to have access to information held by the state if it is in the interest of exercising your other rights. So the court had said the right of privacy is still important, but it cannot be seen to override the other rights that people have. And in the case of public officials who exercise public power, this right to privacy, they actually forego. The taxman will not be revealing tax records for ordinary people. But even those people who are in the public office, those who want those tax records must make a case that this is in the public interest. And when they can make that case, the right to privacy take a second fiddle to the right to the public interest.
All right, as always, thank you, Prof, for your time. Political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe responding to the Constitutional Court's ruling that former President Jacob Zuma's tax records may now be revealed as a matter of public interest. What do you make of that? Share your views on @ENCA on Twitter or ENCA News on Facebook.